Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I'm back with a new video from me, and today I want to speak a little bit about a personal story from mine. And it's about why I couldn't get pregnant despite being healthy. And it's my personal journey, and I have in the end of the video something for you if you feel related to what I'm saying. So let's start a little bit about myself, my journey, and my story, and why I make this video. Normally, I make more content about Islam. I'm sure you know that, or about other topics. But this video is really very important for me because I struggled a lot and I didn't know why I couldn't get pregnant. So then let's start. I have my notes here. Let's start. Bismillah. Maybe you feel the same. Maybe you are healthy. You went to multiple doctors and they all told you you're healthy. You have no problem. You have no issue. And maybe your husband also made a check. He checked the spermium and they say the same. Like, there's no reason to not get pregnant. So in this case, you are in the same situation like I was. What I did firstly, I made multiple steps, but the first step is always what I want to remember you because we can get so desperate. I was really desperate at the time. And I will tell you also why. I will share a little bit about my personal story. Dua and tawakkul. Wallah, it's so important. I have spoke about patience in my previous videos. I hope you have seen them. But it's very important to understand only to believe in the khair, believe in the good, with the combination of dua will give you the result which you want. This means if you want to be pregnant, if you want to have a healthy child, may Allah give it to you, Allahumma ameen, then it's very important to have this husn zana billah. This means you have a positive thinking about Allah. Allah can give you everything. If you have a hot desire and it burns inside of you, why Allah should not give it to you? Why? Yeah. So of course, you need tawakkul and dua. Dua is very important. In the sajda, when you're in the sajda, really try to make a good dua, like you have a real talk, real time talk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to ask him for the right way, because the way, the sa'i here is also very important. I explain you now why. So let's speak a little bit about my personal story. Firstly, I was the first time pregnant when I was in my early 20s. And I had at that time 3 miscarriages. And it was very painful. My fourth pregnancy, I was pregnant with my first daughter, Nuran, and she was born with Down syndrome. She's deaf. She had a serious heart problem. And she had a lot of other diagnoses, which I cannot mention all. Really, when we left the hospital, the first page was only with diagnosis. So she was so ill. It was very stressful and very painful, actually, the first years with her. And I had so much insecurities, actually. I felt like I'm not able to have a healthy child. I lose all my babies. What's wrong with me? I had that questions. And I'm sure if you maybe also a special need mama, you have that questions too. Unfortunately, that's something what women deal with when they have a miscarriage. We search the mistake by us, but there is no mistake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khaliq, and he have created my daughter Nuran like that, or your children like that, or he created also this miscarriages. Yes, do we have like a influence in all that what happened? Of course we have an influence in the qadar. We will speak about that more later, about qadar and maktub and all that. But still, if something happened to you and you didn't see it coming, all right, like for example, I didn't know that my daughter had Down syndrome, would it change anything for me? It wouldn't. Would I keep her? Of course. For me, there is nothing like stopping a pregnancy or something like that when I am not in danger, all right? But important here is to explain again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have always the last word, all right? He decide. Kun fayakun. All right. So let's go back. I had now my daughter Nuran, and I wanted to get pregnant again. I wanted to experience a beautiful pregnancy. I wanted to experience a normal, healthy child. It not mean that my daughter is a burden, don't get me wrong, but it was very stressful. Also I have now a real comparison between a special need ill child, baby and child, and a newborn who's completely healthy. These are two worlds. You cannot imagine that if you didn't went through it. So I want to explain you a little bit how I suffered also in my pregnancy, that you understand that. When I had the miscarriages and I had the special need daughter, my Noran, I went to multiple doctors and I wanted to figure out what was my problem, right? And they told me I had a blood problem, okay? Like my blood is too thick and it needs to be more thinner. that the baby in my womb get all the nutrition and what it needs. That was my problem. So the solution was I should get injections. I really, my whole pregnancy, I had injections, sometimes 4 a day. So on the other side from my legs, I had so many blue marks, and also around my stomach. And it was so painful that sometimes when I got the injection, I cried. And it made me very scared. If I thought, okay, if I can get pregnant again, will it be all time the same? It was for me really a horror of like imagination, to be honest. But I wanted that baby, and it was also my responsibility. So I took, of course, the injections and hormones and aspirin and all that. So I had a very difficult pregnancy, honestly, a very traumatic pregnancy too. And my birth was terrible too. I got an emergency C-section, and that was in the 34th week of my pregnancy. So it was also very traumatic. All right. Alhamdulillah, hamukunallah. Bismillah. So, what I did then, firstly, I went back to Germany. When I was in Germany, I went to a DNH doctor, for checking my DNH. And actually, I was pretty sure that I don't have any DNH problem, because when my mom was pregnant with me, this is also very interesting. I checked my family story. What I really would advise you, if you are into psychology, that you check your generational trauma. And I solved a lot from them, actually, the last years. My mom got the diagnosis also when she was younger that she could not get pregnant. So when she was finally pregnant, she could not believe it. She made a lot of pregnancy tests and she thought, like, that's not right. Also, when she went to her doctor, he couldn't believe it that she's pregnant, but she was pregnant with me. So my mom made a test from the water of the womb, yeah, because she wanted to know if I am healthy or not. She said, for example, she was very clear. She said she could not imagine to have a special needs child. If she would have one, she would stop that pregnancy. So they made checks, and alhamdulillah, I was very healthy. So I had that always on my mind, but still, we want to go sure. So I made all the blood tests, and alhamdulillah, everything in my DNH is fine. And she said something very interesting. She told me that my blood is also good. I don't have any problem. I was very confused, actually. So I went to another doctor, a specialist for blood and everything, here in my city, in the hospital, and I made another check. And she told me the same. I don't have any blood problem. It was so strange, honestly. But I had it now from 2 doctors with 2 blood tests, and I believed them, of course. So, alhamdulillah, this was solved, alhamdulillah. So I wanted to get pregnant. And my husband and I, we tried, but it didn't work out. And it was so strange, because when I went to doctors in 4 countries, actually. And I paid so much for the test and whatever, because it was private. Not in all countries you have insurance. They all told me I'm completely healthy, and also you see in my eggs, they are very active. Normally I should get pregnant. My husband also made the checks, he's healthy too, so what is the problem? So I thought, okay, all right, that's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qadar Allah ma sha'a fa'al. But still, I wanted the child, I wanted to experience it, and I was a little bit desperate, as I said. So what was the turning point? All right, there was a turning point. I started to search for different kind of ways. Firstly, what I did for years now was to solve my trauma, which I experienced in my pregnancy and in my birth. And this is something you should not underestimate, because we women, we accept the sperm go into the egg. All right, that's something what scientifically is proven. So we decide if we let it enter or not. And when you're a woman, you had a very hard time, you had a very traumatic experience with birth and pregnancy. Sometimes you can have conscious or unconscious beliefs which are built upon them to save you. Actually, your subconscious want to save you, your ruh want to save you, that you don't get pregnant. And I was very scared. I had so much anxiety to get pregnant again. I'm honest. So I solved that. I solved the trauma around that. I calmed my nervous system, the triggers which I had around pregnancy or all about that, with marriage, with family. I try to work on that. I solved that my nervous system is not anymore in fight or flight mode, that I can regulate myself, and I am in an emotional intelligence. So all this needed from me psychological work. That's not so difficult actually. You can do that also by your own. I want to tell you that. I did that too. So this was firstly the first thing which I focused in. And of course, my ibadah. I made constantly dua and I tried to have tawakkul and tried to change my thoughts around that. That Allah don't give me that, or that I have that insecurities or whatever. I try to solve that. But the third thing is really very important, which I want to tell you about. So if you feel related in any point, then maybe this can be your game changer, inshallah. May Allah make it for you, like for me. My husband, he told me about the traditional herb medicine which he used and his family used, and he had some very nice herbs which I tried to use. So let's go back to, it was Ramadan 2023 actually. At that time I was with my Noran. We was in Morocco. We was in a beautiful place there in Morocco. It was so nice. We enjoyed our summer holidays, and we was in a big flat, and that flat had also a jacuzzi. At that time we started to use the herbs, and something what's very important what I want to tell you is I had always a pain, and maybe you have that pain too, so take care. This pain, it was in my womb area. It was like a cold feeling from inside. I cannot explain it, but it was sometimes so strong, so painful that I couldn't bear it, and I don't know what it was. I asked doctors. They also didn't have any explanation because they never heard about that. But I noticed when I'm warm, it get better. So I told my husband that, and we started at that time in Ramadan to making sit bath. And I used them for like 5 to 7 days every day. And I'm honest, it was painful. In the beginning, it was painful, and I asked my husband, "Is this normal?" So I took this recipe for I think like 5 to 7 days, as I mentioned, and I every day make this sit bath. And as I said, it was really very painful in the beginning, but after that, something amazing happened. Honestly, my pain get better. Actually, I didn't have that cold feeling in my uterus anymore, and I also noticed that my menstruation started to change. Like before, it was very painful, very strong, etc. This stopped. So I said, okay, that was very nice, and I was very happy and thankful. So I know that I knew that I was on the right way at that time. And honestly, I searched for the right way a long time. Yeah. Okay. So then, in 2024 Ramadan, another amazing happened. My husband gave me another recipe, and this recipe should really clean my womb from inside. And maybe you didn't hear about cleaning. I noticed that in Germany, for example, we have really like less natural herb knowledges, like for example in the US or in other countries in the world. And I found this so interesting. In Germany, it's very strict. You cannot, for example, sell any herbs, like you make a sit bath or something like that. You need certificates and whatever. It's so hard here. But do you know that um, our generation and the generation before, we are the first two generations actually which unlearned how to heal ourselves naturally? And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with pharmacy or whatever. Medication in some points are good and helpful, but we have no knowledges about how to heal ourselves alone. And I have a Russian background, and for example, in Russia, it's completely normal to have like a wonder medicine, whatever, based on what you have in home or the herbs to heal yourself. And in Germany, it's something like I noticed I made a post in German in Threads actually, and it was about how to heal your womb from inside with natural herbs, how I did it. All right, I just spoke about my personal experience, and if someone wants to experience the same, he can work with me. And this post got so many like people start to say that what I'm saying is not right, and they comment a lot, and they also wanted to block my account. And it is really so crazy what people think, and like they living in their own bubble, and they don't know or they don't understand that we have multiple ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never only give one way to achieve a goal, there are multiple. That's why I always make a difference between a personal experience, that's for example my personal experience, and a universal law which is mentioned in the Quran based on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is a law, but I just speak about my personal experience. And I'm very careful what I share, and I always make a note, for example, hey, that's my personal experience. I would like to invite you to try it, but I cannot guarantee any results. That would be crazy. So let's go back to the really like the change in my whole life. Ramadan 2024. I took again this recipe for 5 to 7 days, and it's so easy to make. Actually, it have cost me not more than 2 years to do that, and it's really not only for getting pregnant, it's also something for cleaning your womb from inside. It's so interesting, subhanallah. So I did that, and wallahi, the next cycle I got pregnant. I couldn't believe it, because you also must know that when I was previous pregnant, my four pregnancies, like a normal test from the shop with urine never worked for me. It never showed that I'm pregnant, but I had that feeling, so I always went to the blood test, and I made a test, and I saw that from the hormones that it's high or less. So okay, I'm pregnant, or I have a miscarriage, whatever, right? So this time it was different. When I made I went to the shop, I bought my pregnancy test, I made it, I still have it here in the bathroom. Directly, I was pregnant. I was so shocked, I couldn't believe it, and I was so happy and thankful. The first thing what I did, I made this sugar sajda, honestly. Called my husband, told him that, and yeah, alhamdulillah. Now I have my beautiful, healthy baby, and I'm so blessed and thankful. So, if you maybe can relate with my story, if you feel the same, if you have the same problems or whatever, um, I want to tell you one very, very important thing. This recipe worked for me, and it's fully plant based. Also, one part is fully plant based, the other not, and it's so simple to use, honestly. So if you're ready maybe to try something new, because you already tried this way, this way, this way, and it didn't work, I always say, why you don't try? You have nothing to lose, right? Just your time, energy, and whatever. Um, but firstly, I want to say something what's very important. I'm not a doctor, all right? I am not a doctor, and this recipe, which I will share with you, it's not like a medical advice or something, all right? So please, I'm not a doctor, and I don't give medical advice. This all is based on my personal experience. But if you are healthy and you're still facing unexplained issues, yeah, to not getting pregnant, maybe it can help you too. So if you are interested in this recipe, down I make a link. There is it in English and also in German. I have 2 videos, of course. And for a small investment, it's really a small investment, you will get this recipe and you can try it out. Okay, if you have any questions, I don't think you will have any questions after you read that recipe, because I made it really very detailed. But in case, my email address is also linked now in my YouTube channel, and you can contact me, you can ask me questions, whatever, and I'm here to guide you. So I hope from the bottom of my heart, may Allah make you pregnant, may Allah make you happy. And if you try that recipe, tell me, share it with me. If you have any questions, just ask me. And yeah, then may Allah give you a healthy child and change your life like mine. Allahumma ameen ajmaeen. Assalamu alaikum.